think of the word nutrition, I think of this woman. In fact, if are there still dictionaries around, or is it all on the Ethernet? Because I expect to see her photo in the dictionary when I turn to nutrition. She is an MS holistic nutritionist, an author, a speaker. She is as a soul nutritionist. Is that it? What was that? Body and soul.
Yes.
Yes. And today we have one of my top 3 favorite healers, the person that I go to when my body isn't just right. And I've known you for about 25 years now, and I'm going to just introduce her, Miss Sally Kravich. Sally
Hello.
Kravich. Yay!
Thank you. Yes, I think it's been 25 years. Really has.
Yeah,
Then when people used to call me Sally of the Valley, back in the days, because I started my practice 34 years ago, I think, in LA. And it has seen, and people thought it was absolutely woo-woo in those days. I was the original juice and smoothie queen from like 1978. So when I was in the showbiz days, I was drinking juices and I was putting people on diets on the side. And then
even back then.
Oh yeah. I was doing hands-on energy work and all of that. One of the first persons I put on a diet was in 1976 when I was still on the Donnie and Marie show. And then my husband ended up giving this particular person his first job on TV years later. It's like all this weird interconnected thing. But later I left showbiz and I just went, I have to do this. This is my calling. This was always my passion. I was sick as a child from the birth till about 12. We moved to Switzerland to study with naturopaths. I got well. And my mother was into this. I started reading vitamin labels at age 5.
Really?
And we lived all across the US. We lived in Europe. We lived in Canada. And everywhere I would go, I would look at the local lore or even the local plants, because I'm also a master herbalist. And I just got into doing this early on. And I remember babysitting 2 little girls when I was 12 in Switzerland who had these horrible allergies. They couldn't even be in the same room as a nut or a bean, or they'd blow up, And I went, when I grow up, I'm going to help people with this. And so that was in my head. And yes, I had, no, others don't know as much that I had a showbiz life.
Yeah.
So I was doing this on the side until this is what took over. So fast forward, I ended up writing a book, in the 90s. I ended up having a bi-coastal practice between New York and LA starting in, I think it was 1995, so 25 years ago. And then as my kids grew up, when they were younger, I was a single parent, so I couldn't split my time as much between New York and LA. So I was in LA, and then every 6 weeks, I go to New York for a week and pack people in, and then word got around, and I started being, my advice was in other books and magazines, and I was on radio shows and talk shows, and then I developed this equal practice between New York and LA.
Right.
And then as my kids got older, I kind of focused I was a bouncing ball between New York and LA, 2 weeks and 2 weeks, but they were grown at that point. And then when I met my husband, who lived on the East Coast, I went, well, it's time to let one of my places go. So I let the LA go, not my profession and not my clients, but I let my living circumstances. And I went, I can just come into LA and see people in a hotel. So that's what I started to do.
Right.
And then later, his business ended up ending in New York. So I did the same thing in New York. So I'm kind of on the go I was on the go. I was until recently on the go in hotels. And I started virtual literally 4 years ago when I let the New York apartment go. and it's great because you can speak to anybody. Here we are. You're in my office, darling. My
And you're in
sanctuary,
mine.
and I'm in yours. How nice is that?
I love it. I love it. What shifted you from saying, you know what, I'm going to do this full time?
Well, I was one of those who had one of those Me Too experiences.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, and that was the last film I did was Xanadu, but that's not what happened. I had some very close friends and friend family, and my confidence was I couldn't trust. I just didn't feel like I could trust, and I went. I need to be in control of my life.
Yeah.
I need to like follow my passion where I'm the leader. I have self ownership. I can do what I'm doing and not have to ever feel compromised. And so that's why I left showbiz, was there was this being compromised at this one point. And I also went, I really kind of like to direct and be the leader of doing things. And I had something to offer. I always go, follow your passion, do what you love. And so there were aspects of showbiz that helped, especially when I was working with people in that. I knew their lifestyle and all of that. I knew how to make people look and feel their best for red carpet, as well as how to navigate through long hours on sets, and what kind of foods were at sets. So there was an advantage to having been in that world.
Yeah.
There was an advantage because I'd also been a professional dancer and choreographer and ice skater. And so I was an athlete. So I knew about injuries and other things. And that was kind of funny because I ended up being the keynote speaker for the Professional Skating Association. And they didn't even know I was an ice skater. I came in as a nutritionist.
And then you just put on your skates and started throwing pills out.
I was saying how to be your best,
Yeah.
like how are people being their best, because people used to do these starvation things and way too much sugar to go up and down, and they're breaking their bodies down. So anyway, I was a forerunner in all of this. I was studying in 1963 in Switzerland with naturopaths, right? And then forward, and then even before then, my mother knew things, and I was reading labels. And so by the time, late 70s go along, I was like already had all of this wealth of knowledge and certifications and different things.
Yeah.
So so I moved into really doing that. I had something to say.
Right.
And I had tools to teach,
There's something you mentioned. There was a word that you mentioned, which I'll come to. But I'm going to throw out a word to you. And what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Oh, okay.
Addictions.
Addictions. Ooh, I think we all have addictions to some level. It's something that, whether it's something that brings comfort to someone, or something, or safety, or they're suppressing something. So we can have kind of good addictions and not so good addictions,
Yeah, and one of the reason I brought that up too was because you mentioned the word sugar, and you and I both know that's my addiction, which I have to stay away from.
Yeah. Too much of a good thing. Well, it's not really good for the body, because sugar is highly acidic. And also your body's quite something in its innate ability and wisdom to know how to take care of itself. So if it's bombarded with something that's not great, say, let's take sugar or cookies, candy, sodas, all of that, the body will do everything it can to save itself. And the great neutralizer of the acidity from sugar is calcium. And so where do we have calcium? We have it in our teeth, we have it in our bones. So we start breaking our bodies down to neutralize the acidity from sugar, from cavities to brittle bones, And so, for longevity, sometimes people are going, oh, I'm told that I don't have the same bone mass that I had when I was younger, and I've been told, oh, I shouldn't take calcium, or I had a blood test that shows I have too much calcium. Well, often that too much calcium is your body is in crisis, and it's breaking down bones in your body to neutralize the acidity, and so it shows up you have high calcium.
Wow.
So there are all kinds of, so yeah, so that's one addiction. You know, alcohol's an addiction, cigarette smoke, suppressing, food. Food can be addiction. I've had clients who would do some really unusual addictions that I had never even heard of before. You know, like they were fooling themselves in some way. Oh, well, if I just chew this and spit it out, I didn't eat it. Well, it created another problem because now you're chewing so much, you got the digestive juices going, and your stomach and your liver and your gallbladder and your pancreas think, oh, I got to break down something. And so instead there's acidity, and then people will get a wash of acidity within. Anyway, I like to teach people how to take care of themselves and what's physically going on when you do something, because if you have more of an understanding, you might be more willing to create a shift, you know?
Now, here, you were saying about taking care of yourself. And right now, what we're all going through is like, you know, and we have over 100 students watching this today from Performing Arts Studio West. We have students from Meet the Biz. Yay. And we have the whole internet world out there.
Yes.
So at this time, especially, and if we're focused on performers or non-performers, how do we take care of ourselves at this time?
Well, first of all, I'll tell you how I take care of myself. And I always believe it's a decision. We have choice. As much as people go, but I have this addiction, or, you know, whatever it is. No, we do have choice.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes the choice happens when one doesn't feel good anymore. To a certain level, and so they're up against the wall, so make a choice. But in this time frame, with everything going on, what do we need to create? We need to create a sanctuary for ourselves and to build strength. So I use this whole time period that we're now that we're at home, you know, we're in our own environment. I'm up every day by 5:30 in the morning. And I do not look at the news. I do not do anything that's in the outer world until I've kind of nourished myself. So I might have a hot cup of tea. I'm a nutritionist, but I still drink a cup of coffee, but I drink all the good stuff. So I might want to just sit, smell the roses, listen to the birds. I play some mind games because I'm 69 and I want to make sure that my mind's alert. So I play while I'm listening to the birds and this and just kind of greeting my day. I'm also playing some games to trigger my brain, my thinking, synapses, you know, connect those. I take a hot bath and then I'm in yoga. I do yoga and meditate every day before anything from the outside world comes in. And I also make sure the first thing, you know, is something nourishing that's coming into my mouth, coming into my thoughts, coming into my vision, how I'm moving my body. I want to make sure that I am my best before I can begin to talk to anybody else. You know, so it's just like, you know, when you're on a plane, you put the mask on yourself first, right? Take care of yourself first. So it's so important during this time, mentally, like it was like the rug was pulled out from under us everywhere. You know, initially, and we were all like shell shocked, and you know, everybody went through a thing. And then you go, okay, all right, I'm going to fall apart for a week. This is not working. I got to take care of myself. I want to take care of myself for the long haul. So I'm repairing injuries I've had for a long time. The strength so during this time frame home, I am eating exquisitely. I'm doing all of the exercises to mend my body. I'm making sure that I'm taking care. And yeah, is there still a little roller coaster? Yeah, but it's manageable because of taking care of self first.
Mm.
And that means getting sleep, laughter. That's what I call a body and soul nutrition. You can't separate the mental body, the spiritual body, emotional body, physical body. You want to have it all kind of juicy and connected and embraced and all supporting one another.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Well, I remember, I mean, one of the main reasons I came to you all those years ago is I had horrific acid reflux, and I went to several doctors. I actually, they always say get a second opinion. Well, I grew up and I got 4 opinions, and I got 2 that said, nah, you don't need surgery, and 2 that said, you got to get surgery. You got to wrap this around this and that. And I went, nah, I don't think so. So, and I felt like I was being choked from the inside. So that's why, thank God, a friend of mine said, you got to meet my friend Sally. I met you, and you said, okay, this is what you got to do. Soups, 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 healing, healing. And within 1 month, it completely healed, or it sure felt like that. And it has never been that bad. It's never.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
We can reverse so many things. I have to qualify it with saying so many things, because there's some things that just don't shift, but we can also live with it and navigate with it. It's like I said, I've had a lot of injuries. I was a professional athlete. I mean, from severed Achilles to I don't know how many times I dislocated my shoulder, torn rotator cuff. I mean, tears everywhere. And so right now, I couldn't put when this whole staying at home happened, I could not put my weight on one shoulder at all. Now I can. So there's this, like those things we can, with time and persistence and consistency and good nourishment and getting in what we need to support ourselves, we can create so many different shifts.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not a physician, so I don't name any diseases, and I don't tell people not to take what their doctor told them to take, but you can support, again, what's coming in here, what's coming in here, what's coming in here, how you're moving, all of those things supports the body and can create amazing shifts.
Well,
I've done meditations where I've done that.
Meditate, yeah. Well, that's been so important too for me is to do my meditations. And when I don't do them, when I need to do them, I can feel it. I can.
Yes.
What is now? I looked at your website, which I love, and what is the difference? Because you're a holistic nutritionist.
Yes.
But what's the difference between a nutritionist and a holistic nutritionist?
So there's registered dietitians, those who have gotten a degree from a university that has, or a master's degree from a university like UCLA, or that have gotten that type of registered this. Holistic is a broader term because it takes in other things. I often teach and have brought in to teach for doctors and nutritionists other things that they haven't learned. But now the world is catching up, so it's not the same as 20 years ago when I was teaching this, or 15 or even 10 years ago. The world's kind of catching up. So holistic means taking the entire person, taking the lifestyle, everything into account. And that often doesn't happen when you go in for an appointment. It's like, check off the ailments you have, da, 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 da. I'm going to look at how does somebody want to feel better? Tell me your habits.
Yeah.
Tell me your habits. How are you doing? And then we can usually identify where the issue has come from just through the habits. How are you building your body? What are you doing consistently? Because you're producing these results because this is what you've been doing for a long time.
Whenever I come see you, you test muscle testing, you look in my eyes,
yes.
You do all
Yeah,
these
because
things.
the eyes are more than just the windows to the soul. You know, when I was an actor, you know, it was windows, you look in the eyes and you get every information you need
Yeah.
because you're reading the other person. At least when I was doing Charles Conrad style acting, that's what we did. You know, you get everything by looking at the other, you know,
Yeah.
all the world is there.
Which is
Well, this,
what we're doing now. I mean, I could be
yes,
looking like this,
yes.
but I'm looking at
And
the
then I'd be telling you some other things, but iridology is amazing because even an ophthalmologist will look at eyes and he can tell if somebody's got a heart issue or a blood sugar problem from just looking, or circulatory, just looking at the eyes. And I had an ophthalmologist, very well-known ophthalmologist years ago, who was my client, who said, I just am fascinated because you tell me things just by looking at my eyes. And I've proven that to be true, you know, on some of these issues. But the eyes show, I mean, you have more concentrated blood vessels in the eyes. When my kids were little, I could tell the day before they were coming down with something. You see the pupils would start to get really big and really tired. And I just knew that, well, they're going to be fighting off something, you know? And so, again, it doesn't name disease, but you can see how there are points within the eyes that correspond with different organs and systems in the body. You literally can see as it's tearing down, and as you make changes, you can literally see little lines knit together and fill up where something was breaking down. You can see it reverse.
Yeah.
And it was originally discovered by this Hungarian Ignaz von Pescali, who, when he was a child, he was a falconer. You know, most, you know, in the 1800s in Europe, and you know, there was falconry, right? And his falcon broke its leg, and he saw a line show up in the eye. And he goes, well, that's interesting. And then as the leg mended, he saw these little white lines knit together
Oh, wow.
as the leg. So that was his aha moment. Now, with anything in life, if you have a thought or an idea for an invention, usually someplace else someone's also thinking that thought or that invention. So simultaneously, there was a fellow named Niels Lillquist, who also was making the same observations looking at his eyes. So he ended up being the father of homeopathy, and this other fellow, the falconer, later had a clinic, and so he would study his patients' eyes and he would document what he was noticing. You know, he would see, okay, this person has this condition. Oh, look how interesting, it's got a dot in this place. Or I'm having to give this kind of medication. Oh, all of a sudden this rusty brown spot showed up in the eye, right on top of, say, the liver zone or something. So, oh, that's kind of, they're having a little hard time with, so with the liver processing. So he was noticing those things and documenting, and Niels Lillquist was doing the same thing in Sweden. So you had two different documentations of basically the same kind of thing, and it came together. So iridology first, even though some of it's been used in Chinese medicine for, you know, centuries and centuries, it's relatively new in the way the particular patterns that I look at that developed from those two, that it went through Germany and England and Canada. And then Dr. Bernard Jensen was my mentor, and he's the one that the charts, you'll see Dr. Bernard Jensen on the bottom. He's the one who's made the most, those particular charts. And I studied with him in the 80s. And when he had a healing center in Escondido, and it was, and he was the one that came up with green inside, clean inside, and anything that talks about colon cleaning and all of that stuff was all Dr. Jensen. So he had this beautiful ranch that people would come to with most amazing foods, and
Okay.
so I got to study with him.
I
Yeah.
love that. Okay.
Yes.
What brings you the most joy in life?
Most joy, turning people on to themselves. Really, like turning people onto themselves, their own, like lighting up the joy in others, lighting up their ahas. I love that, brings me so much joy. Having a person have an aha, you give them a tool and they have that aha moment, and their life, they have a paradigm shift, whether it's in their ability to manifest, where it's on a creative side, a health side, a wisdom side. Oh, I don't, it's just those, having someone have those ahas,
Yeah.
and they become self-empowered with that. I think that brings me the greatest joy.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to also say, being around you, I think that if I hadn't met you, I might not be here today.
Oh,
And it's not that I am that kind of person that would do anything, but I just think that you helped me find the straight and narrow road. Or I don't think any road is completely straight and narrow, but you helped me you helped me learn how to take care of myself.
perfect. And that's part of that empowering that brings me joy. So thank you. You just brought me great joy.
And I need my Sally fix very soon because I need my eyes looked at and other stuff.
Yeah. Well, I like to teach people how to take care of themselves. And again, when I say body and soul nutrition, I have some people that come and just also go, I got a block. And I give them a meditation tool, and the block may manifest in a physical health way. For instance, say somebody has stomach issues.
Yeah.
I go, I've always got a stomach ache. I'll go, well, first of all, where is it? Because sometimes when they press stomach, the stomach is here, but they might be talking down here, and that's the bowel. That's the lower reason, or they might go over here or over here. It might be, a different organ. So I like to ask where people are experiencing things, and then we go to the food and investigation. Well, if it's stomach area, that's also third chakra. Third chakra, it all deals with, it's about your ego in a way, if it's on a lightweight, but it's the ability to be who you are with ease out in the world, to be welcome in this world.
Yeah.
And so sometimes people have stomach issues because it's also tied up in, I don't have a rightful place in this world, and they're also reinforcing it with food. So I'm always looking all around every which way to give people the keys to their freedom,
Right.
in whatever it is.
Because it's ultimately up to that individual.
Always is.
Yeah.
It's up to all of us, right?
Yeah.
I can't fix you. I also don't solicit. I have never solicited. People have come to me. How did I manifest? Clients years ago, and like when I gotten divorced, and my kids are completely dependent on me, which is around the time I met you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember they were this small.
9 and 10, yeah, something, yeah.
What a gorgeous family.
Thank you. But during that time period, I was going, what is it that I do? Because I also like to reduce things to an energy, and I went, I light people up and make them bigger lights. So I literally, how I drew clients in? I didn't solicit. I didn't do networking. I was lying on my bed meditating, and I'd see these little lights come into my energy field, and I'd fluff them up and make them bigger lights and send them on their way. Literally, that's how my phone rang.
I love it.
Then, when I had something to say, because I had a lot to say back then, that's why I wrote a book, and I was a reference.
Vibrant living.
Yes. And so in that book, I would wake up some days and I'm going, I really have something to share. And I literally broadcast my energy around clockwise and counterclockwise. It was all this kind of meditative. I swear to God, I would get a call for a radio station, a magazine, or a book reference in a book within 24 hours.
Hmm.
So meditation's very powerful, holding your space, knowing kind of, learning who you are, learning who you are, somebody's got because I think we're all just unique, beautiful gifts. We all have something so wonderful to share, every single person. And if you're in your joy and in your self-ownership and your self-leadership, you're in all of that, everything's going to line up. I can't tell you about the timing, but it always lines up.
Yeah.
It always will come if someone stays with it. I remember my daughter, she's been on your thing, and I would say, hey, if you stick with anything 10 years, it's all going to come in. Just stick with it. It's going to come. And for her, it was like rough, rough, rough. And then boom, overnight success. But it wasn't. It was all those 10 years. Yeah. It was when she could really receive and get the other things out of the way where it just blew up,
Well, and I see so much of you and her and your son, because you're also vibrant. You're also, back to the book, but at the same time, you have this energy that is contagious. And I think that's why you are such an amazing healer. And I use that word healer because your energy, you teach us how to find our own energy. And if we sway a little on my addiction of sugar, okay, that's it. Maybe once in a blue moon, but
well, the pendulum swings. If you're doing this, you better balance it out over here.
Yeah.
That's, everybody's got something that they do. So if I'm going to have a glass of wine or 2 glasses of wine, I'm going to make sure that I've had a green juice that day and a bunch of water to flush. I need to make sure that I'm counteracting, whatever it is that I'm doing. Like I know that, do I ever eat bread? Well, once in a blue moon, I do eat bread. I try, I always want to have the best quality. So I'm probably going to be eating Ezekiel toast, which is more cardboardy, but it's full, it's a full out great kind of bread quality. Will I eat another one? Yes. And I know if I eat too much, I'm going to have a stuffy nose and have bags under my eyes because that's how it affects me.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to do too much. So if you become aware, what do these different things do to you? How do they make you feel better or doesn't? It's an awareness. It's an attunement of finding, what works and doesn't work.
And it's about whether it's taking care of your health or you as a person, because it like you said at the beginning, we have the choice. And we have the choice to choose love or something negative. And
fear.
Love or fear.
Right? Love or fear.
Hey, I love,
Yeah.
I mean,
You're Mr. Lovebug.
Oh my God. So
talk about contagious joy, that's you.
Oh. One more question. What do you want the most at this moment in your life?
Peace. Oh, it didn't take too much to say that. Peace. Peace. Peace of mind, peace of heart, peace. I am so grateful for everything. I want to have a peaceful sleep. I want peace in my movement in my body so there's no strain. I want peace in my digestion. I want peace in my head. I want peace in my heart. I want a peace radiating around in the world in me. So really it is peace, serenity, ease. I have ease, but I think it's really about peace. I'd like everyone to find peace.
Yeah.
I I would really like that. There's so much harshness that's going on. So that's why just peace is what came, because I am joy. I know, joy is there. I know enthusiasm. I know, all of those there. But what is sometimes not always there is peace. And that might be in a sleep at night. I might be dreaming about what's going on somewhere, and I don't, so I want peace everywhere, peace of
Mm.
mind,
Mm-hmm.
you know. I think, I know. What else is there besides, and we know love. I've got love, got gratitude,
Yeah.
got joy, got self-ownership, can certainly speak up. There's not like this heavy learning. I'm pushing 70 now, so there's not like this heavy learning curve I got to do.
Yeah.
It's just for me, it's always been about how can I erase the blackboard of things that happen, like not be at the mercy of it, that I can really be all of me in every cell, in my hair, each hair strand. How can I just be a reflection of all of me, radiating with joy and peace and love and gratitude and all of that, and wisdom.
Well, thank you for your wisdom and for your healings and
Yeah.
for you.
Thank you for you.
Oh,
You're
and
a
your
gift, David.
what?
You're a gift.
Thank you.
You are.